with module 2 modulation. So in that multi-carrier topic is peak to average ratio. Okay, so one thing I want to request you here is try to have all the abbreviations with you. Okay, if you have this textbook, soft copy textbook, just go through the soft copy textbook annexure. In that annexure you will find all the abbreviations whatever which are this paragraph. Okay, so in the previous class we have discussed about the LTE system. Okay, in that particular LTE system we have seen how this time and frequency synchronizations are carried out. Okay, so today we will go with another topic, very important topic, that is nothing but peak to average ratio. Okay, so what do you mean by peak to average ratio and how much the ratio should be, whether it should be high or whether it should be less. Okay, and whether this ratio is changing with respect to the number of subcarriers. Okay, so and what will be the effect of this average to peak ratio. Okay, so this is the small topic of this section, that is 3.5. Okay, so what average to peak to average ratio means in OFDM signal. Okay, so usually we have higher average to peak to average ratio. Okay, which is often called as peak to average power ratio. Okay, here in the heading they have not mentioned that this peak to average ratio is with respect to current, or whether it is with respect to voltage. Okay, or whether it is with respect to the power. They have not mentioned. Okay, but when it comes to the wireless communication, always your peak to average ratio is with respect to power ratio. Okay, because transmitted power, received power. Okay, so based on transmitted power and the calculation we find signal to noise ratio. Okay, so that is why the reason here they have mentioned that peak to average ratio with respect to power. Okay, then the reason for this is that in time domain, okay, always remember the two concepts, but that is frequency domain, another is nothing but the time domain. Okay, so here what will happen in the time domain is a multi-carrier signal is the sum of narrowband signal. Okay, now let me tell you that what is this power, how this power is been represented in DSP. Okay, if you go back to the concept of digital signal processing, okay, there we have calculated the energy of the signal, which is nothing but the summation of all the samples. Okay, which is being obtained in terms of joules. Similarly here also, how to calculate the power here is, it is nothing but taking a multi-carrier signal. Multi-carrier signal is nothing but the signal which is transmitted from the transmitter through a transmitting antenna, which consists of more than one carrier signal. Okay, and that more than one carrier signal is nothing but your different sub carriers which are coming at the input of your QAM input block. Okay, that is parallel to serial. All the topics in this chapter are interrelated. Okay, so therefore whenever you go for the time domain representation, a multi-carrier signal has to be analyzed. So for why it has to do, why we have to do this is nothing but just to obtain this ratio, that is peak to average ratio. And how to do that? Just by summing of many narrowband signals. Okay, now let us make it more clear here that instead of going for a wideband, we go for narrowband. Okay, so wideband will not give us complete information. So that is why the reason we try to make our signal more narrow, so that the available function delta is the function delta can be small, and that delta function will give you the complete power also. Okay, then at some time instance, okay, or at some times this sum is large. Okay, at the other times it may be small. Obviously your signal is not constant in amplitude, neither it is constant in phase or frequency, but it is completely varying with respect to time t, and at different time t interval all the signals are having different values of amplitude. So that is why the reason whenever you go for calculation of this power, sometimes it may be large or sometimes it may be small. Okay, which means that the peak value of the signal is substantially larger than the average value. Okay, for example at some time t, okay, I will just show you how this will be. If you draw one graph okay, like this. And if you measure at this particular point number 1, okay, at point 2, then something point 3, okay. Once when you measure at this point, you may have this much amplitude. When you measure at this point 2, it may be different. When you measure at 3, it may be different, okay. So it may be small, it may be large, okay. But the thing is, whenever you go for finding this average to noise, sorry, peak to average noise ratio, but usually it is always greater than or larger than the average value. Means whenever you take the average of these three signal, that is 1, 2 and 3, and you calculate the power for this particular signal, then it will be always larger than the your average value, okay. So that is why the reason that it's your peak to average ratio should always be high, okay. Then what is happening if the signal, if the received or if the power is large, okay. So here this high PAR is one of the most important implementation challenge that face OFDM, because it reduces the efficiency, okay. So here is the problem in OFDM, that if I have high peak to average ratio, that is nothing but PAR, then we may find some difficulty in calculation. And in and what is happening here is indirectly it is reducing your efficiency of the signal. Efficiency in the sense, whatever the signals which are transmitted, you will not be able to receive properly, okay. And hence the increase is the cost of RF power amplifier. We have to implement block, okay. So what is happening here in the concept of peak to average ratio is, whenever you go for designing, our condition is that sometimes the signal may be large or it may be small. This is the first criteria. The second is, due to high PAR, there will be reduced in efficiency, okay. If the efficiency is reduced, the cost of RF power amplifier automatically increases. In the sense, I need to put more than one power amplifier, okay, which is one of the most expensive component in the radio, okay, because this RF stands for radio frequency, right? It is not a normal amplifier. If I use a normal amplifier, the case was something different, but here it is a power amplifier, and power amplifiers are more costly than compared to your normal amplifiers, okay. So that is why the reason the whole cost of the device automatically increases, okay. Now the problem is the cost, okay, and how this can be overcome, okay. So therefore, alternatively, there is some kind of a solution. There is the same power amplifier can be used, but the input power to the power amplifier must be reduced. That is what, if the input to the power amplifier itself is high at the beginning, then it will produce 10 times of that, okay. So what we will do here is, instead of applying the large power at the input of the power amplifier, we will apply the only small power, okay, that is nothing but the reduced power, okay. And this, in this process of applying the small input power to the power amplifier, is known as input back off, okay. It is nothing but input back off. And what will do this results in lower average SNR at the receiver. Your SNR, that is nothing but your signal to noise ratio, will become less, okay, and hence a reduced transmit range. So by doing this, that is peak to average ratio, by reducing the power, by reducing the cost, okay, by applying the small input power to the power amplifier, the overall signal to noise ratio is reduced, or it is made small. And indirectly, or it is proportionally, what we are trying to do here is, we are trying to reduce the range of our transmitter. Instead of my signal traveling to from 0 to 1 kilometer, it will travel to something like half a kilometer, okay. So therefore, this is how we try to go for designing of our transmitter, okay. Now there is some problem also are associated with PAR, okay. So what is the problem here with PAR, peak to average ratio, is the transmitted when a peak high signal is transmitted through a non-linear device, okay, such as high power amplifier, okay, and digital to analog converter. These two are nothing but the non-linear devices, okay. You can see here they are telling, one is power amplifier, which is a high power amplifier, and the second is digital to analog converter, okay. If I just take you to the diagram of transmitter, here you can see the output section of the transmitter consists of digital to analog converter. Here you can see. Okay, so therefore this digital to analog converter is non-linear. That is what they are mentioning at the beginning, that whenever you use a device like a high power amplifier, or it can be a digital to analog converter, the problem is nothing but these two devices are, first, they are non-linear. Okay, and if they are non-linear, what they will do, it generates out of band energy, okay, spectral regrowth and in band distortion. Okay, that is what the problem here is with non-linear device. That is, one is out of band energies are being generated which is not required. Okay, because whenever there is a generation of energy, there will be a dissipation in the power. Indirectly it may cause a problem to our circuitry also. This is one problem. The second problem is, if there is a generation of power, unnecessary generation of energy, then that energy will be again amplified. Again it will create a high signal to noise ratio. So we need to try to limit it. Okay, then the second problem here is in band distortion. In band in the sense, you have a frequency band from 0 to 10 megahertz, for example. Then in that particular frequency band you may find some kind of distortion, though the band is used for the transmission. Okay, so therefore this PAR has these kind of problems. Okay, then this degradation may affect. What will happen if I use digital to analog? But these devices are very helpful in transmission. Okay, but if I use these devices, okay, if you use these devices, your system, or there will be some kind of degradation in the system performance. That is what performance we are measuring in terms of your efficiency here. Okay, so the non-linear behavior of high power amplifier can be characterized by amplitude modulation. Okay, or amplitude modulation, and amplitude modulation, or it can be phase modulation response. Okay, that is what they are trying to increase the performance of the system by making use of, or by categorizing your high power amplifier by making use of amplitude modulation technique, or it can be phase modulation technique. Okay, so they have shown in the figure 3.11, okay, typical AM by AM response for HPA with associated some kind of inputs and outputs. Here you can see in figure 3.11. Okay, so if you look at this figure here, it starts from 0, okay, and it is increasing exponentially. Okay, it is increasing exponentially from, let us take this point as 0, and this is my region, that is nothing but, this is non-linear region, this is a linear region. Okay, linear region, non-linear region. Okay, and what is this IBO? IBO is nothing but your back off, that is nothing but input back off. Okay, so here we have two peaks. One is nothing but the average peak, the another is our normal peak. Okay, so totally we have two peaks. Okay, so what is happening here in this PAR is, let us go to the problem. Okay, so problem was the non-linearity of our graph. Just to overcome this non-linearity graph, okay, they have shown in the figure that typically they will make use of your AM, or they may use some PM responses. Okay, and what is this? It is associated with input and output back off regions, that is IBO. IBO is called as input back off, and OBO means output back off respectively. Okay, they are using this concept just to avoid the concept of, just to avoid the non-linearity effects. Okay, here you can see, just to avoid the undesirable non-linear effects. Okay, a waveform with a peak high power must be transmitted in linear region. That is what they are trying to tell in this graph. If you want to transmit the signal, that is nothing but the high power signal, you need to transmit the high power signal in the linear region. This region, it is called as linear region. And if you want to transmit your if you want to transmit the signal in the non-linear region, then you may face some kind of distortions within the band of frequencies. Okay, then the second thing here in calculation part here is, if you look at this formula, okay, which is used to overcome the problem of non-linearity, the thing is, you need to go for calculation of input back off, and it is defined by 10 log to the base 10 power in saturation divided by P in. Okay, so P in sat means input power. Okay, that is, or simply you can call it as a saturation power. Okay, above which the non-linear region. comes. Okay, and P in bar is nothing but your average power. So if you get to these two powers calculation, one is saturation power, another is the average power, then you can find your input back off. Okay. The amount of back off will be always greater than the PAR signal. So if you find this problem solution just by calculating this IBO using that particular formula, then your signal may come under the linear region, even though they are making use of your digital to analog converters and high power amplifiers. Okay, so if you do this kind of calculation, okay, what we can achieve is we can go for the power efficiency of this high power amplifier, which was a disadvantage, okay, in OFDM. We can overcome simply by this can be overcome by increasing in this high power amplifier. How this can be increased? By reducing the PAR. Okay, and how to reduce the PAR? Make your signal to lie in linear region instead of non-linear region. Okay, and the second thing is, what this high power amplifier is nothing but it's a class A amplifier. Okay, so when you use this class A amplifier, then you can find the solution for your power in terms of efficiency calculation. Okay, then the second point here is, in addition to the large burden placed at HPA, a high PAR requires high resolution. Okay, high resolution, this is what the another important point. Okay, though your HPA is good, efficiency you are getting better, your performance is increased. Okay, but what about the graph? Okay, here we have another type of a problem. If I use a different types of amplifier, let us take an example of class A amplifier and let us take an example of a class B amplifier. Okay, and we have one device at the end of the transmitter. It is nothing but digital to analog converter or D2A converter. Okay, and D2A converter means we go with the concept of our resolution. Okay, so what the concept says is, the high PAR, if you want to achieve the high efficiency of this peak to average ratio, it requires the high resolution for both transmitter and both for the transmitters, digital to analog converter, and receivers, analog to digital converter. It is reverse. You can see analog to digital converter. DAC transmitter पे use करना है और ADC आपको receiver पे use करना है. And the thing is, the resolution of both the transmitter and the receiver should be kept as high as possible. If you do this, then the dynamic range of the signal, which is proportional to the PAR, can be achievable. Okay, so due to this high range of D2A and AD conversion places an additional complexity, or it may be your cost will increase and the power burden on the system may also increase. So therefore, if there is some advantage at one side, then you may have some kind of limitations on the other side. But the thing is, if you are trying to find the efficiency, then the efficiency matters and it should be kept always at its peak, just to achieve your high peak to average ratio. Okay, and this next topic here is quantifying the PAR. How you try to quantify the PAR? Okay, the simple way to quantify the PAR is make use of your IFFT operation, that is inverse fast Fourier transform. Okay, how to go for the quantifying here is, there are some theorems which they have mentioned, that is central limit theorem. Okay, it's a bit, then they are going for some complex Gaussian random variables. Okay, the condition for here Gaussian random variables is the mean and variance, it should be kept 0, that is with 0 means, and the variance, that is nothing but represented by sigma square. Okay, when you go for calculation, both the imaginary part and the real part both have 0 means and 0 variance. Okay, and try to find the amplitude of that particular PAR. Either it can be in the non-linear region or it can be in the linear region. Okay, and how to find the amplitude? They are given in terms of mod. Okay, you know how to find the mod. Mod is equal to root of a square plus b square, and here this is nothing but your real part of the equation, and you can see this is R represents real part, this is J represents your imaginary part of the input signal. Okay, and you can see it is x of n. Okay, because we have some samples x1 x2 till xl, and these samples are been obtained from your IFFT algorithm, and IFFT always the input was capital X and the output was small x. So if you find the small x values, then you can go for applying the Gaussian theorem or finding the real parts of the equations and the complex variables. Okay, after finding that, try to find the mean and variance. Okay, you know how to find the mean, that is nothing but finding the average values, and the variance, which is obtained by a sigma square. Okay, if you get the mean and variance, then it should be kept as minimum as, which is almost equal to 0. Okay, and also try to find the amplitude of the output signal. That is nothing but the output signal is been represented by small x of n. Okay, so if you find this, then further in this quantifying PAR, they have used some concept of random variables and probability. Okay, by applying the concept of your Gaussian theorem. Okay, some relay distributed parameters. Will not go in detail, okay, because this concept requires basics of your field theory, antenna. Okay, so just try to make the concept clear just by understanding the concept of quantifying. Okay? Our problem here is try to quantify the output signal, not input signal. Quantify the output signal such that the transmitted PAR signal, which is always analog. Try to remember, the transmitted signal is always analog, not digital signal. Okay, so that analog signal can be defined in a well manner, that is PAR is equal to maximum of, okay, mod of x of t divided by e into x of t whole square. Okay, so with this I will conclude our today's topic.
Okay, that was all about how the calculation about the peak to average ratio. Okay, so it is more important after studying the concept of time and frequency synchronization. We have seen how the peak to average noise ratio or peak to average ratio can be reduced by increasing the signal to noise ratio or linearity or some kind of such topics. Okay, so in the next video lecture, so tomorrow we will see about how the different parameters can be calculated. Okay, on how we can increase the peak to average ratio. Okay, by quantifying it or by taking some noise ratio part. Okay, so finding the cubic meters, so that can be done. Okay, so with this I will conclude the today's video lecture series.